All right, gentlemen. We all came together and we decided we're going to do a March Madness kind of bracket breakdown and um, try and give some picks on a couple different things. We're gonna talk about who our champions are for the March Madness bracket, NCAA men's tournament. We're gonna talk about our Final Four predictions, and then also maybe a Cinderella story or two. So we've got Jovanni.
What's up?
How we doing?
Hello, it is I.
Well, hopefully, we can get some good conversation going here, and see if we can just have some fun with this, kind of relax and just talk some college hoops. So, um, all right, I'll kick us off. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't Cooper? Why don't you start? We're gonna start with Final Four. So if we start with Final Four, then we can hold off our champions till later. So Cooper, why don't you start us off with who your Final Four is and who you think's gonna fit in there?
And those guys over there, they're like both sides of the ball, defense, offense. They're definitely the favorite to win it all. But I also like Auburn on the other side of that bracket. I really like Auburn. They're pretty also very strong with their offense. Not as good defense as Duke, but they're still really good. And then it gets a little bit messy on the other side because you got uh, like Florida and St. John's. I feel like they're gonna be duking it out on that west side of the bracket. St. John's being coached by Rick Pitino. This is like his fifth team that he's won. He's won into the tournament with or whatever. So it's going to be a dogfight over there. Florida, Memphis, St. John's, all really strong teams. But I think it'll probably be St. John's coming out of there to me because they have very strong like defense, and I think they can stop a lot of those high-powered offenses over there. And then in the Midwest, I think they have Gonzaga a little low at an 8 seed, and I think Gonzaga can get out in front of Georgia, or I think it'll be between definitely Gonzaga or Houston over there. So I would say my Final Four, I got I got Auburn, Duke, St. John's, and probably Gonzaga for me. But it's really anyone's game in the West and Midwest sides of the bracket.
I can definitely agree with that. I mean, I think mine's pretty close to yours. I'll hold off on mine, but I'll let somebody else go. But I like those picks. I think those are pretty good. Um, Giovanni, you want to chime in? What do you think?
I'm thinking Duke will be in the Final Four because of their awesome player in Cooper Flag. He's doing amazing for them. They they didn't win. They didn't lose like double digits. Like they are really impressed me with that one. And Cooper Flag, obviously, he had like 19 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 4.1 assists per game, 48.8% of field goal percentage. So I'm going with Duke. I'm going to go with Auburn Tigers. I'm going with Texas Tech and Kentucky for the Final Four.
Solid picks right there. All right, Coach Kellman.
Yeah. So looking at some of the matchups, I think the left side of the bracket is definitely the strong side, and I think a lot of people's Final Four, you know, there's four really really good teams on the left side of the bracket, and I think the right side, it's a little bit more of a question mark. But historically, the champion has been top 21 in offense efficiency and top 31 in defense efficiency. And only a couple teams fit the bill for that. One of the surprising ones I thought was Illinois, but I'm not really all in on Illinois. But for my Final Four, to keep it short, I like Auburn on the top left. I like Florida on the bottom left. On the top right, I have a sneaky one. I have BYU coming out of that one. BYU is playing some tough basketball right now. Not a firm believer in some of the other teams on that side. And then in the bottom right, I have the Tennessee Volunteers coming out, beating Alabama.
Yeah, so I'll kind of throw mine into the ring now. I think, when I sat down to do this, all you hear throughout the year is Cooper Flag, Cooper Flag, Cooper Flag, and I was kind of worried that this latest injury was going to be a problem. But John Shire said he's full steam ahead. He's ready to go. I was thinking he wasn't going to be back till Sweet 16, and that might throw a ring. Let's see. I think I'm gonna go with Duke. I have Duke coming out of that side. I like Tennessee out of the Midwest. I think that a big one for me was the SEC play was so strong, and I do think that the SEC's. I mean, what they set a record was like 12 teams in the tournament. Um, I think Tennessee might be able to sneak out of there. Houston's a great team, and they're like a perennial powerhouse for the last couple of years. But I don't see. I don't know. I could see Tennessee giving them a pretty hard run for it. I liked Gonzaga as well, Cooper, but I don't know if they haven't had the team that they've had in the past. Those big guys that they usually have, they're three white guys from overseas who are just monsters in the paint. I don't know. I didn't like Tennessee, or I'm sorry, I didn't like Gonzaga that much. I could see Tennessee sneaking it out though. Florida is, and so I think a lot of the professionals are saying Florida, and I just didn't jump on that bandwagon. So out of the West side, I have St. John's as well. I have Rick Pitino. I've listened to a couple of things he said, and I really like the way he coaches. I know that he's done some other shady things, but the way he runs a basketball team, I kind of like how that is. And their defense is really good, and they've started to come around in their scoring game. So from what I've seen and what I've heard, I think that St. John's is kind of could make a run here. And then my last one, I have Auburn too. I watched them play that couple games against Alabama, and I was just really impressed with how strong they are. And they've got a player of the year candidate there. So anytime you got one of those guys, a workhorse, you have a pretty good chance of making a run. So my four are Duke, Tennessee, St. John's, and Auburn. So sounds like we're actually pretty close to each other. I know Coach Kellman, we can't really talk about this, but it's going to mess up our, brackets for school, huh? Telling each other what.
Yeah, exactly.
So, let's see. We'll go from let's go from champ to the champion. Who do we think's going to pull it off? Let's go backwards. Let's go. I'll start this one. I have Duke. I mean, I think that they won the ACC tournament without Cooper Flag, and that was my biggest thing. Was if a team can shut down Cooper Flag, then they might be able to win it all. And I was pretty impressed that they have a couple other freshmen there that are pretty good, and a couple other leaders on that team. So I do think that Duke has a good chance if they all stay healthy and everything goes the way it should, that I think they could win it all. So that's my favorite to win it. In the championship game, I have Duke versus who was it? Tennessee? No, that can't be. They're on the same side. Um, Duke versus Auburn. I had them beating Auburn. So, Kellman, what do you think?
I have a rematch of the SEC championship. I have Florida coming out of the left side and Tennessee coming out of the right side. I just think the SEC, the gauntlet this year was just too dominant. I think the best teams are coming out of that conference right now. Florida's got three of the best guards in the country on their team. And Tennessee's volume and pace of play, I think it's really hard to just keep up with. It's hard to play teams like that on back-to-backs, especially on those long weekends. Um, and if Florida can just continue the hot streak that they're on, I think it's going to be hard for someone to beat them. So I have Florida winning against Tennessee in the championship. However, but there is a couple games on that left side of the bracket where I could see, Florida slipping up. I mean, Florida's got a tough second round potential matchup with UConn. UConn's kind of sneaky here and there. And then they obviously got to get past either St. John's or Michigan State. So there's a couple teams on that side that could ruin that for me. But I can foresee definitely an SEC championship rematch. And they've already played each other 3 times this year, and Florida edges them out 2-1 right now. So I think that would be a great game in the championship with Florida coming out on top.
See, championship. Jovanni, who do you got in your championship?
For the east side, we got Duke, of course, with Cooper Flag. And then for the west side, I got Auburn, and I got Duke winning the whole thing.
The way you think, Jovanni. Sounds familiar. All right, Coop, who you got?
Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna have Duke. Yeah, for that west side. Duke is super strong. They got Cooper Flag, as you said, he had that little hiccup recently with the ankle injury, but they said he'll be all right and he'll be back. So I believe that Duke can do it. And like you said, also they've got some freshmen in there, like that one. They got that 7'2" kid who's like he's a beast. I think Duke makes it out of there. Maybe they have a little battle with maybe Houston or Tennessee or something. But I see them getting to the championship. And then on the other side of the board, it's almost a bit of a toss up for me because obviously you have Auburn. They're very strong. Kellman, like you said, they've got a player of the year candidate over there. And then you've got St. John's and Florida. I think, and I hope for a few of my brackets that St. John's can shut down that Florida offense and they have very strong defense, obviously, and St. John's can shut them down. I think in my finals, I have number 1 seed Duke versus number 2 seed St. John's.
In the finals would be pretty awesome. I mean, it's not often you get one of those like kind of they're only a basketball team school to make it that far. So that would be a good one. I like that one. Okay. So here's the fun part. And this is what makes March Madness so fun, is the Cinderella stories. And I think that, once you start watching on Thursday and Friday, and you get 5-12 upset, those kinds of things, that's when it gets interesting. So we're gonna talk about our Cinderellas. Who would like to go first? Would anybody like to go first with their Cinderellas? Who do you think lower than an 8 seed could make a run at the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8?
I could start. I got a couple off the top of my head that I really think can do that. And I know it might sound like a homer pick, but I think Akron's a tough, gritty team. I could see them getting to that Sweet 16 game. They're physical underneath, getting rebounds. They got guys that want to fill up the stat column, and I just feel like that's what you need out of those lower seed teams, guys that have grit and just want to continue to press on for the entire 4 quarters and give people headaches. Another one I like is McNeese. Everybody seems to like McNeese every year. The way it kind of was drawn this year, they would face like potentially High Point over Purdue in the second round. They could win that game and keep on rolling if they were to knock off Clemson. On the left side, there's a couple other guys like UC San Diego over Michigan. Obviously, can't stand Michigan, so anytime I could pick against them, that'd be great. Won a fluke Big Ten championship, which I thought Maryland should have won anyways. And then in the bottom left, there wasn't very many I liked. There was just one game I really wanted to point out. It was the first one of the week. On Thursday, we open up with Creighton versus Louisville. I think that's going to be one of the better games on the whole bracket. So those are some of my teams: Akron, McNeese, UC San Diego, making a little bit of run, and even High Point over Purdue.
Sure. Yeah, I like the Akron pick. I think that I saw that one, and a lot of times people sleep on the MAC, but they've the MAC and the Horizon League. They've put up some teams that have been able to compete. I mean, there's a couple years where Cleveland State made a little run, and I do think that I do think Akron could make a little run here. I agree with you on that one. My two, I only picked two. I just picked one from the right and one from the left because it really is hard to kind of pick those. And I said New Mexico. I thought that they got a pretty favorable draw. What I'm looking at is, they drew Marquette, which, Marquette didn't have many quality wins, and if they beat Marquette, they face Michigan State, who is one of my favorites. I do have them going pretty far, but at the same time, if they can get past Michigan State, it's kind of a walk to the Elite Eight. So I liked New Mexico State. They're a pretty decent team, only 7 losses on the season, and to get a 10 seed. The other one was actually a team that's usually pretty good in basketball and in this tournament, and then also playing in the Big 12. They have a pretty strong conference. It was Baylor Bears. Um, Baylor got I'm just double checking here. Baylor got the 9 seed and will play Mississippi State. And if Duke does not come out and stay hot, I think that if Baylor beats them, they could just maybe even walk to the Final Four. I mean that Alabama in the Elite Eight game might be their biggest challenge, but other than that, like that, the top half of the East bracket is kind of weak. So I thought that was a big one there. Baylor's usually really good, so I think they did have some quality wins. They lost a lot of games, but um, they play in a tough conference. The Big 12 and the SEC were the two conferences that really stood out this year, and so we'll see if Baylor can pull up an upset there. Jovanni Cooper.
Yeah, I really like the Akron pick. I love some Maction, Uh yeah, they're not super like in terms of their centers. They don't have any super big centers, but their guards are all big and physical, and they like to get active. They're gritty. I definitely like that Akron pick, but also from that corner of the bracket, I like Liberty over Oregon, at least in the first round. Liberty, they shoot the 3-pointer so much and they shoot it so well. If I'm Their 3-point attempt rate is like off the charts. They're shooting threes on like 46% of their possessions, and they're making almost 40% of them. So I like them coming out of there, at least against Oregon. But then like Morrison said, they could go up against Baylor or Duke, which those can be some tough teams. But I like Liberty on that side. And on the other side, I like San Diego. I like UC San Diego. They they have like super high like steals. They get so many steals and so many fast break points that's something that you see a lot in like a lot of those Cinderella teams is they can score a lot fast. So you see that in like 2013 Florida Gulf Coast, like Dunk City. They're getting so many fast break points against. They can get them against any team. And so, yeah, I like San Diego.
For real quick, how old?
Yeah. I was 4, but I don't think that's
There's no.
really relevant. Listen, it was Dunk City, man. But
Props to you for mentioning that, honestly.
Oh,
yeah, but yeah, I like the San Diego pick a lot as well. Other than that, I don't really have any super huge upsets. Definitely, I like McNeese and High Point, like Kellerman mentioned. Those would be awesome to see. But other than that, most of their teams that are lower seeds are pretty weak. No offense to them, but I don't think maybe a lot of these other teams are going to be throwing up much of competition. So yeah, but I think definitely keep your eyes on Liberty Akron and UC San Diego. Those are my 3 underdogs.
right. Giovanni.
I think
We lost Giovanni. It's all right. Okay, so well, here I did one other thing. I went ahead and I asked Google Gemini the same questions I asked you guys. So we'll see what Google says. So Google says the championship game will be Duke and Florida, which I'm pretty sure you just pulled that from ESPN. The Final Four: Duke, Florida, Michigan State, and Houston. And then they kind of liked Auburn in there too. So there you go. And then Cinderella. Google Gemini had UC San Diego. So there you go, Coop. Yale and Drake. So I don't know about those two. I was trying to find those two on here. And I think Yale play.
Texas A&M, don't they? Yeah. Missouri.
in one of my brackets, which just sounds crazy. But Missouri's been up and down. I could see them slipping against a team like Drake, and then who knows after that. But that's one team you mentioned that I kind of was on a little bit.
Uh, yeah. I have I think I have 3 right now, but I'm probably gonna end up doing a few more because the Alliance High School Cross Country has a bracket fundraiser. Guys, go buy the fundraiser and fill out a bracket.
Whoa, no free.
Oh,
That's going to cost Coach Triner. All right. $1 per subscriber. All right. I only fill out one. So I- I've done multiple in the past. You do your coin flip bracket. You do your. I might have my 5-year-old pick some teams. Who knows? Like they might do better than mine. But it drives me insane watching games. Oh, I had them. Oh no, wait, I didn't have them. And I just pick one bracket. You follow the one bracket. You stick to it. So we'll see. I'll probably only do one bracket this year. I usually only do one. That way I actually know who I'm supposed to root for in these games. But all right, gentlemen. Any final comments, closing statements here?
Versus Calipari, second round. Arkansas versus St. John. Going to be electric. Might feed families.